Good morning, children. Today we will start with the first chapter of Class 7 Geography, that is Environment. First, we will understand the term environment, then we will move on to understand the concept of ecosystem. Finally, we will end up with the human interaction with environment. So, what is environment, children? Environment is the most important thing for survival of our life on earth. So only environment gives us air to breathe, food to eat, water to drink and land to live on. So this environment is derived from the French word environner, which means neighborhood. So it's a kind of basic life support system which is affected by the people, place, things and natural surroundings that a living organism has. So environment includes natural and human-made phenomenon. Environment plays a predominant role in governing human behavior and that talks about natural disaster, natural calamities, etc. So one and only environment can govern us and rule us, and we have to follow the rules what environment lays for us. However, later on, there was another set of population, I would say geographers, who started working with the concept which said that it is not just the environment that governs us, rather it's we humans that modify the environment or change environment according to our needs and requirements. So next we will move on to discuss the components of environment. We have three components of environment, namely natural environment, human-made environment and human environment. First we will discuss in detail about natural environment. So the natural environment includes large number of living things that are classified as biotic and non-living things that are classified as abiotic. So we have two categories of natural environment, that is biotic and non-biotic. Biotic, for example, we have animals, plants, microorganisms, etc. For abiotic, we have land, water, atmosphere, etc., which comes under non-living things. So environment, that is whatever things we see around us which are not created by humans, forms part of natural environment. Thus, land, water, air, animals, plants, etc., they comprise nature. So this natural environment can be grouped into various domains which we will discuss later. So now you are clear about natural environment, children. Now next we will move on to human-made environment. So what is human-made environment? Human-made environment includes creations like buildings, bridges, industries, train, bus, electricity, etc. So the things which are created by humans, they come under human-made environment. Human environment includes human activities and interactions. So the component of human environment includes individual, then comes the family, then community, then there are numerous factors that affect a person, example religion, culture, level of education, etc. So all these affect human mentality and human setup. So all these factors or the human factors that comes under human activities and interactions. So human beings interact with the environment and modify it according to their needs and requirements. So children, as I discussed earlier, the natural environment is grouped into various domains. So what are the various domains? Lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere and biosphere. Now we will discuss each of these in detail. So first we will discuss about lithosphere. So what is lithosphere, children? This is nothing but the hot top layer of the earth's surface. So lithosphere is also called the hot crust or solid crust. So lithosphere is made up of rocks and minerals and it is covered by a layer of soil. So the shape of lithosphere is irregular and it is not smooth like a tabletop. So the various landforms such as mountains, plains, plateaus, valleys, etc. These are things are included in lithosphere. So the part of the crust that lies below the oceans is known as the ocean floor, which is also uneven and it is not smooth surfaced. So lithosphere also provides us mineral wealth, forests, grasslands, agricultural land, and also land for human settlements. Next we will discuss about what is hydrosphere. So hydrosphere is the domain of water. So it includes all types of water bodies. So various water bodies which we can see around us, example oceans, rivers, seas, lakes, etc. These come under hydrosphere. So we know very well that water is very much essential for all living organisms. So the next domain is atmosphere. So what is atmosphere? This is the layer of air which surrounds the earth. It is a mix of gases which change with altitude from the earth's surface. So we can see various types of gases such as carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. That is ozone. Also we can see in the atmosphere. So the gravity of the earth holds the atmosphere around it. The atmosphere also has dust particles and water vapor. Changes in the atmosphere, it affects the weather and climate. Our atmosphere also works as a shield of the earth to protect the earth from harmful rays and scorching heat of the sun. So next we will move on to biosphere. So biosphere, it constitutes the plant and animal kingdoms. So biosphere can also be called as the living world. So in this domain, the land, air and water, all these three interact with each other to support life. Now we will discuss about ecosystem. So what is ecosystem? It is a system formed by the interaction of all living organisms with each other. So all plants, animals and human beings depend on each other and on the immediate surroundings of natural environment. There could be different ecosystems in different environments like deserts, mountains, dense forests, rivers, oceans, etc. So ecosystems have different types of living organisms that interact with each other. So these can be divided into three categories: producers, consumers and decomposers. What are producers? These are the green plants. They make their own food. Next, consumers. These are the animals and they get their energy from the plants or from other organisms which eat the plants. Finally, the decomposers are the organisms like bacteria and fungi that break down dead plants and animals into organic material that go back to soil, and that is where the cycle restarts. Next, we also discussed an example for lake's ecosystem, that is the sunlight which falls on the water helps the growth of algae. This algae produces oxygen for animals like fish, frogs, etc. and provides food for microscopic animals. Fish eat the microscopic organisms, absorb oxygen with their gills and expel carbon dioxide, which helps in the growth of plants. If the algae disappears, everything else would be affected. Microorganisms would not have enough food, fish would not have enough oxygen, and plants would have lesser carbon dioxide available, which is necessary for their growth. Now we will discuss in detail about human interactions with environment. So human beings interacted with the environment and modified it according to their needs and requirements since historic times. Human beings, like other animals, they interacted with nature and their surroundings and adapted themselves to the natural surroundings. So thousands of years back, humans lived simple lives and they killed other animals for food or even ate fruits and other plant products. They used animal skins and tree barks to cover themselves from rain and cold. But gradually, with innovations, they exploited natural resources and found ways to get metals, materials, crops, etc. for better living. Then they also learned to grow crops, they domesticated animals, and they led a settled life. Then Industrial Revolution took place with the invention of wheel and steam engine. Then there was production of surplus food, they stored food, they transported food. Then there emerged the barter system, which means exchange of commodities without money. Then trade started, and as a result of Industrial Revolution, there was large scale production and there was a need for transportation, which resulted in the drastic expansion of transport network. Finally, The information revolution made communication much easier and speedy across the world. So finally, we will discuss the effects of human interaction on environment. So human interactions in various forms, it affects the environment. So some of the major actions by humans that affects the environment are, for example, industrialization causes smoke and other chemical pollutants which goes into the air and water around them. So this causes contamination of both air and water, which ultimately affects people who live in, that is, who live close to factories, etc. So burning of dry leaves, plastics and crackers, they also cause lot of air pollution. So due to air pollution, humans get asthma and other diseases. So drainage of waste from towns and cities, as well as excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides in agriculture also causes water pollution. So it is important for us to realize that, like in the example of ecosystem which we discussed earlier, all elements of nature have some mutual dependency and interaction. Therefore, if humans overexploit the natural resources, it would affect other organisms, and in the long run it also affects humans. For example, if we cut down the forests to make buildings, then what happens is the environment will lose the major producer of oxygen, because we very well know that trees are the major producer of oxygen. So what happens? Slowly this would affect humans as well. So as members of the human environment, we should take adequate care of nature and natural resources, and we should not overconsume and overexploit them. So with this we come to the end of this chapter, children. Now we will have a short recap of the chapter. So now we will have a short recap of the chapter, children. So in this chapter we learnt about the meaning of environment, then what are the components of environment, that is natural, human made and human environment. Natural environment is nothing but which are the things we see around us which are not created by humans. So this natural environment is again divided into biotic, that is living things, animals, plants, microorganisms, etc., and non-living things which are categorized as abiotic, that is land, water, atmosphere, etc. Then we also read about human environment, which includes creations such as buildings, bridges, industries, train, etc., which comes under human made environment, and also the human interactions, which includes family, society, religion, education, politics, etc. Then we also discussed in detail about the various domains of natural environment, such as lithosphere, that is nothing but the hot top layer of the earth's surface. Next we learnt about hydrosphere, that includes all types of water bodies like oceans, rivers, seas, etc. Then atmosphere, which is the layer of air that surrounds the earth. And finally we also discussed about biosphere, that constitutes the plant and animal kingdom. Then we also learnt about the ecosystem, which is formed by the interaction of all living organisms with each other. And we also discussed the various categories of ecosystem, that is producers, consumers and decomposers. Then finally we ended up with the human interactions with the environment and what are the effects of human interactions on environment. So next we will discuss some of the keywords in this chapter, children. So now we will discuss some of the keywords. First, environment. What is environment? It is people, place and things which surrounds any living organism. Then what is biotic? So biotic is nothing but all living organisms like plants, humans, etc. Next, abiotic. Abiotic, as we already discussed, these are non-living things like land, water, air, etc. Then comes hydrosphere. What is hydrosphere? It is the domain of water. Next, atmosphere. It is a layer of air or blanket of air surrounding the earth. Finally, contamination. So it is nothing but polluting elements like chemicals, etc. in water or air. So with this, we end this chapter, children. I think you all have understood clearly. Thank you.